That one coworker, what happened? She was my partner in surveillance. She started leaving me for hours at a time, which got really frustrating. I would try to find her on camera so I knew where to call to get her to come back so I could have a bathroom and or coffee break. I started to notice that every time I looked for her, she was chatting with this one new girl. This was happening every day, and then I noticed they started taking night shift breaks together. Then one night, I saw them head outside together. They both got in her car and were just chatting in the front seat. Suddenly, they start making out, and next thing I know they're both getting out and getting into the back seat. This became a regular thing on night shift. Fast forward several months, she's now separated from her husband and living with this coworker. A small company. The dude who absolutely stank, and I mean you could tell he had been in a room 10 minutes later, it was so bad. After about a year at a staff part, one thing, someone had the liquid courage to ask him what was up with the odor. Turns out he showered regularly, but he was eating medicinal garlic oil, which caused the terrible smell. Oddly, he had no idea. He switched to a different type of garlic oil and the smell went away almost instantly. Great guy, was at the company several years afterwards. Management finally took notice and reorganized, so that he no longer had any staff under him, but gave him a higher title and almost no work in the process. A short time later, they used layoffs as a reason to get rid of him entirely, but he parlayed his higher title into a more powerful, better paying job elsewhere, where they're now trying to figure out how to get rid of him. Basically, he failed up. That's what you get when you have hiring managers who get starstruck at an Ivy League education without checking if there's any substance behind it. He was a strange-looking person. Also smelled strange and said strange things to some people. None of which was very good for a temp looking to be made permanent. Words were had with him in private, and to everyone's surprise, he turned it around. He's a strange-looking person in general, but he addressed the issues around personal hygiene and his general appearance, more groomed and professional-looking, and he changed how he interacted with people. He got his permanent position and seems to be well-liked overall. Just shows it's not too late. Someone could be that coworker because of issues in their private life. A few discreet words from a superior can make all the difference. Just knowing someone is paying attention can be enough to start a change for the better. Kid-centric water park. He put broken glass in the pool because he didn't get 1 day of the 4-day span he requested off. We were taught in training that if broken glass was found in the pool, the park would have to be closed for about 3 days to complete a process to make sure it was fully removed. He figured he could use this to his advantage. He got his day off. Him and the rest of the morning shift were sent home while the glass was removed. The park ended up opening later that afternoon after the removal process was expedited. Luckily no one was hurt because this all happened in the morning before we opened to the public. He bragged about it to some of our other coworkers who ended up reporting him. He was the life and soul of the office, a proper family man, and a trusted department manager. His wife was sadly diagnosed with cancer, so for a couple of years, he was on reduced hours to look after her and his young son. Sadly, he passed away, never found out how, but the strange thing was the police had to reach out to the company as he had no next of kin. Turns out he didn't have a wife or son or any other close friends or family. Very sad. He murdered his landlord and ate some of the corpse. I think he ate a lung or something, believing it to be the heart. He wasn't a notable weirdo or outcast and was actually pretty good at his job. I don't work there anymore. I had another coworker who flew home to the USA for vacation, went to a shooting range, got a gun and immediately shot himself in the head. He was a really nice guy. Then there was the shit bandit in another multinational I worked in. At least 3 times per month this creep would enter one of the men's bathrooms, put the toilet seat lid down, and then shit on it and leave the turd just sitting there to be found. We never did catch him. Facilities tried removing the toilet seat lids, but he just left the turds on the toilet seats themselves after that. Funniest part, it was someone's job to photograph the scene every time it happened so they could build a case in the event of discovering who the culprit was. Poor bastard with a phone full of pictures of some other dude's turds. Guy who worked in my office for about 6 months. Older guy. Nice but kinda weird. disappeared after taking a giant shit in the stairwell leading down to the cafe. I saw him suddenly get up and walk as fast as possible to the stairwell. There were bathrooms downstairs across from the cafe, but also one's a closer walk upstairs. Didn't think anything of it till I heard a scream about 10 minutes later. Giant pile at the top of the stairs and a trail leading down. On his first day he told a full break room that he doesn't watch TV because it was designed to separate us from God and that the earth is flat. Second day he pulls me aside and starts off with, "I can't say this to the others but I can tell you're different," and starts going on about Bill Gates wanting to control the world's supply of water. Somewhere around his second or third week he gathers 4 to 6 of us together to let us know he has never killed anyone and he never would be sure he killed someone. A short while later he goes into the big boss's office uninvited, sits down, and stares right through him. He also disappeared in the middle of the day numerous times, pooped his pants at least once, and got fired for screwing up a few $1,000s worth of product and leaving without saying anything instead of admitting he screwed up. Well, boss fired him on the spot for proposing to a girl in the office because he deserves her or something. He thought being tall was the important factor. They didn't have any kind of relationship leading up to this, he was serious. Supposedly they fired him improperly and we won 2 years' pay or something out of it in a follow-up lawsuit. Lots of weird stories from him. His orange theory, where placing an orange in the fridge rids all the food in the fridge of toxins. His tooth problem that was somehow caused by his watch. Also, his upstairs neighbors were apparently following him around listening to his conversations. I firmly believe that he was just becoming schizophrenic and wasn't diagnosed yet. He was living with his ex-wife because of a housing situation. He always seemed a bit crazy at work and a bit quick to anger. But overall relatively harmless. He came in 1 week all super happy and said he did something every guy should do on his days off. He wouldn't say what but we were like, okay sure dude, whatever. So he wanted to convince his ex they should get back together. So he tied her up in their house. He beat, raped, tased, and sodomized her trying to convince her to get back together with him. She finally just agreed to get back with him and he let her go. He came to work and she went to the cops. The detectives came to our work and hauled him away mid-morning. He's still in prison as far as I know. He came into work one morning skipping. When I say that, I mean literally skipping everywhere he went. Went about his job skipping all over the shop. Tried to talk everyone else into skipping too. When we refused, he got pissed, threw down his tools, clocked out, walked out the door, and we never saw him again. He was a really strange guy. About a month before this, he was on vacation. He lived about 40 minutes away. Every day of that vacation, when the lunch bell rang, he walked in with a plate of food, sat in his regular seat, ate, and when the bell rang again, he got in his car and left. Once had a coworker who was really nice and super good at her job. She and a few other coworkers and I had gone for after-work drinks several times, so I'd say we were friendly. We worked together in our fairly small office for about a year and a half. One day she just disappeared. She didn't show up for work and didn't call in, which was very unusual for her. But hey, emergencies happen, and we didn't want to unnecessarily pry if something major had happened. But when she no-showed on the second day, our boss called her mom, who was her emergency contact. Her mom was just like, "Yep, everything is fine, thanks for checking." I texted her a couple times over the next few weeks to check in, and she never responded. She did come in to get her personal stuff and drop off her keys after hours, as shown by security footage. But none of us ever heard from her again. To this day I have no idea what happened. I just hope she's okay. I used to work in food services at an outdoor museum in Michigan. We attracted a fair crowd of that coworker. On more than one occasion, I had to talk to grown adults about wearing deodorant at work. Shit was ripe. I had another employee who would disappear to take her cold medicine, and always feel groggy. One time I walked into one of the restaurants and she was trying to sweep garbage into the closed end of a dustbin. Another time she was standing in front of the fryer and just started tumbling into it. She would have fallen too if not for me and the other supervisor catching her. The final straw was when she fell asleep standing up on the serving line. There was another creep I worked with who would stalk the women with his 5 Facebook accounts. If they left their phone unattended, he'd sneak his digits into it. One day he pulled out a knife and threatened to cut one of the other employees, then went right back to work serving beer as if it were a regular occurrence. They fired his ass that day. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on the best Reddit stories.